Purely by coincidence, I decided to cover yet another ocean game. Hello and welcome to Dennis AGA. Yeah, this is an AGA version. An AGA version is available. I would prefer to cover that version because usually, and I'm saying usually, I should say emphasizing usually, the AGA versions are, of course, supposed to look better. The plot of this game is that Dennis is a 5-year-old troublemaker who's been left in the care of his neighbor while the parents are away. The neighbor has this flower thing that he's been caretaking his entire life and blah 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 whatever. Some bad guy or naughty someone is trying to nick the neighbor's coin collection, and Dennis sees that and goes to warn the neighbor, called Mr. Wilson. And in the process of trying to warn Mr. Wilson, he apparently messes things up, and the plants that the orchids, I think it is orchids, that Mr. Wilson's been nursing for a long time, they go poof, and Mr. Wilson suddenly is very, very unhappy with Dennis. And Dennis feels he's been left all alone in the world because Mr. Wilson was his best friend, and now Mr. Wilson doesn't like him anymore. Yeah. It's getting better. Dennis then decides to run away, because if Mr. Wilson hates him, then nothing matters. So, for whatever reason, blah 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 blah, he decides to go and try and find the coin collection that's been attempted stolen, and you have to guide Dennis through several different levels. And by the way, I'm going over the plot extremely quickly because I find it to be unnecessarily long, but you have certain objectives on set levels, as you can probably imagine, and on just the first level, Mr. Wilson's house, you have to find your blowgun and 5 coins. The 5th coin you cannot pick up before you've gathered the other 4, so you can imagine this is a platformer. I wouldn't call it adventure game, that would be a bit too generous, I think, but the aim is to navigate Mr. Wilson's house and find the coins so you can move on to the next level. You have 3 weapons available. Tools, let's call them tools. You start with a water pistol, and on the first screen, or very close to the first screen, you will find a slingshot, and of course, as I was saying, the objective in Mr. Wilson's house is to find your blowgun. So that will give you 3 weapons, and you can cycle between using the spacebar because fun. But because I'm going to be talking about the game in general, may as well just get all the technical things out of the way first. This, of course, is an AGA game, and we can quite clearly see how extremely well the extra colors of the AGA chipset has been utilized on this game. And if you think I'm being sarcastic, you wouldn't be wrong. AGA, of course, was Commodore's designation for Advanced Graphics Architecture, and it was quite an advance compared to the Enhanced Chipset, or ECS, and far superior to the original chipset, or OCS. And at the time, the AGA's graphical capabilities was extremely powerful and advanced. Other systems called off and all that stuff, but you know what, that's a story for another time. The unfortunate element that much as I think that the AGA machines were the best thing Commodore ever released, it also meant that a lot of software developers and publishers and whatnot, they saw the existence of AGA systems as an excuse to recolor some of their existing games and sell them as AGA versions. Some of them actually made an extra effort and put some extra levels or an extra level here there, but by and large it was basically just a recoloring of the same game, and in many cases not a successful recoloring. It was like the developers, programmers, whatever, graphical artists were thinking, okay, now we got a palette of 256 colors we could use at the same time. What are we going to do with them? That's how it felt in many ways. Not impressive on the graphical side. The graphics themselves are nice, but for an AGA designation, not very happy. The music that you just heard is okay, but it's a bit bland. But here comes the best part. Oh, I had to try a game using sound effects because, of course, I mean, it is only a 2 megabyte machine. It couldn't possibly have sound effects and music at the same time. But it quickly dawned on me why this game defaults to the music. It will dawn on you in about 8 seconds. Isn't it lovely? All these lovely sounds that actually managed to give me a headache while playing this game. What I don't do for my viewers, I accept getting headaches. Someone at Ocean got hold of a sound guy and said, can you deliver us the most annoying sounds you can find? I put them in the game. The more, the merrier, and make sure that they are playing about the same time. Even things that are 100 miles off screen. Let the player hear it. Let them enjoy this cacophony of annoying, irritating sounds. And that alone, in honesty, is a reason enough to dislike this game. The sound effects, by the way, are, in case you are wondering, they are extremely unpleasant because you hear them all the time. They override, and they don't override each other, but it's just a chaotic mess of frustrating, annoying sounds. And I kid you not, I was beginning to get a headache playing this game, listening to that sound. It really got on my wake. The controls are relatively sharp. I mean, not relatively sharp, they are actually quite sharp. Dennis responds as you would expect him to do. When you move to the right, he moves to the right. When you move to the left, he moves to the left, and so on and so on. So in that regard, there's no complaints. Then, of course, we come to the gameplay, because the gameplay is all important for games. That's why we play them, to enjoy gameplay. And I can say that after playing this game for half an hour, I stopped caring. Completely and utterly. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. I stopped caring after about 4 minutes, but of course, because I mean, making a 4-minute video is no fun, so I had to endure it a bit more. But my conclusion from a gameplay point of view is that you'll find more excitement reading the blank sheets of toilet roll than you would get from playing this game. I mean, it's incredibly tedious, incredibly boring, incredibly noisy. The music is acceptable, but boring. The sound effects, as I've quite clearly stated, are not entirely pleasant to listen to. The overall gameplay excitement is just non-existent. There's nothing about this game that makes it remotely interesting. I don't know who it was aimed at. It was definitely not aimed at the more experienced player, because they would find this tedious in about 8 seconds flat, and a younger audience would probably find it too obnoxious to work around where you're supposed to jump in order to get to the higher platforms, and avoiding all the enemies and defeating the same enemy 10 billion times in a row. Yeah, I think it's very easy to gather that Dennis did not impress me, AGA or not. You know you have an issue with a game when the most enjoyable thing about it is to see the game over screen. And on that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.